In today's world, where everyone from influencer to well-meaning friends is dishing out dietary advice, navigating nutrition can feel like swimming through a storm. But fear not, we're here to hand you a life preserver of real insight straight from a credentialed dietitian. By cutting through the noise, we offer a beacon of genuine nutrition wisdom. So, are you ready to learn what really matters for your health? So, dive in with us as we separate the signal from the noise. Welcome to the High Blood Pressure Wellness Lifestyle Podcast, where your journey toward a healthier, more vibrant life takes center stage. I am Donna Williams, your host and guide, certified holistic health coach, and passionate advocate for transforming lives through mindful, practical approaches to health. At my digital home, info on highbloodpressure.com, and through this podcast, I'm here to serve a vibrant community, especially focusing on women of color, by demystifying chronic disease management, starting with high blood pressure. Together, we'll embark on a transformative journey, reshaping our lives from reactive health measures to proactive health empowerment. It is more than modifying a diet or changing a routine. It's about making wellness your daily mantra and experiencing a full transformation. So today, I want you to meet my very special guest. Her name is Patricia Koleska. She's a MS-RDN, a passionate registered dietitian, and nutrition educator who brings a wealth of knowledge and a global perspective to the table. With a strong academic foundation from Brookes University, where she earned her degree in nutrition and dietetic with minors in biology and psychology, completed a rigorous dietetic internship and earned a master's degree in sports, nutrition, and entrepreneurship from Wellness Workdays and Simmons College. Patricia's mission is to empower individuals to embrace a more inclusive and enjoyable approach to nutrition, fostering long-term health outcomes that are holistic and attainable. So, welcome, Patricia. How are you today?
I'm great, Donna, and thank you for that introduction and for having me on your show.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm sure my listeners can't wait to hear what you have to say. So let's get started. What exactly is a registered dietitian, and what makes a registered dietitian different from other healthcare professionals?
I love that question. So, a dietitian is legally allowed to give medical nutrition therapy based on a current disease state like diabetes or high blood pressure. The best way to identify a dietitian is if they have the credentials RD or RDN behind their name. Now, dietitians are required to go through 1,200 hours of supervised practice before taking their entrance exam and obtaining their certification. These hours are typically completed in settings like hospitals, schools, clinics, private practice, and more. Now, dietitians prescribe diet plans not only on your personal nutrition needs, but as a whole, factoring in your lifestyle, exercise levels, your work schedule, food preferences, and the current evidence based research on nutrition. Now, as dietitians, we want to support you in developing a personalized nutrition plan to best meet your goals and sustain them in the long run.
Oh my God, I did not know that. That means you are well rounded in your advice and in your experience. So you actually meet so many different culture, people, health issues. So you have worked on all of that. So could you share more about what you actually do in your line of work, like your specialty areas, what inspired you to focus on these areas because of the messages being received?
That's a great question. So I've kind of dabbled in a lot of different areas. As you had mentioned
I
in your
can see that.
introduction, I started out in sports nutrition, then had moved to weight loss surgery, and now I'm in the process of developing my own business and private practice. So I'm working towards specializing in areas like high blood pressure, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. A lot of what inspired me to go into these specialty areas is because there's a lot of vague information as far as what to follow for these chronic disease states. I don't know if your listeners have had the experience of having visited the doctor and you're given either a list of foods to not eat, or maybe you're told to eliminate carbs or sugar. And oftentimes, the clients I've had in the past have come to me and said, Patricia, I already do these things. So, what does that mean? What else my sugar levels are still high, my blood pressure is still high. So, what do I
Mhm,
actually have to do?
mhm.
So, that gave me the feeling of wanting to show them that there are other changes they can make in their nutrition and health behaviors that go beyond a single recommendation. Because something I'll probably bring up a lot in this episode is there is a lot of layers and factors at play. It's not just about a single food or food group. It will be about, as a whole, what are you doing to manage those chronic diseases or your health behaviors?
So I like that you said that, because the thought that comes to my mind is these myths that are out there. So why is it important? How can we differentiate, put it that way, from facts, from myth, and when it comes to nutrition and health related behaviors? Because we're told so much. We're given this page and they don't go through, the doctor doesn't go through it with you. So help us pinpoint, narrow our focus to help us know facts from fiction and how it can help our individual health issues.
Yes, absolutely. So I I encourage people to especially when it comes to nutrition information that they're looking at online, is to ask yourself certain questions, such as, does this person hold the educational background and qualifications to be giving nutrition advice? Now, if let's say sometimes we see people online who have had an experience with chronic disease or weight loss, and while that's a helpful personal experience, they don't have the background or the education to work with multiple people. And something else I always say is what works for one person may not work for the next person.
So true. Yes.
Now, another thing to keep in mind, and a question worth asking, is, does it sound too good to be true? So there are a lot of nutrition trends out there where let's give the example of weight loss, because that's something that people commonly pursue.
Yes.
And they'll say, oh, if you were to eat this certain food, you will lose X amount of pounds in a few weeks. Now, while maybe that is the case, the food can assist in a weight loss regimen, it's not to say that it promises it, right? Because that's just one area, not the whole big picture. Now, another thing to keep in mind is, do you feel stressed or overwhelmed at the thought of making the change? So maybe while it might not be entirely a myth, for example, maybe it's not specifically personalized to you. Maybe it does not work well for you. And last but not least, are they trying to sell you something following the video? So let's say they give all this information like, oh, you should not be eating this certain food, but here is my dietary supplement or my powder.
Oh my God.
So
Yes.
that could, as far as the marketing goes, they might be trying to offer you an alternative in order to make money on their end.
I know. It's so crazy because you have to find someone you can trust or who you connect with individually. So it's just crazy. But that brings me down to this thought. Within this beautiful country of ours, we are a diverse group. As a diverse group with different cultural differences and likes and dislikes. So, how do cultural differences in diet and lifestyle influence your approach to nutrition counseling? And can you share an example of a commonly misunderstood nutrition concept that you wish more people knew the truth about? And in your view, how do societal trends such as the rise of social media influencer impact people's perception of healthy eating? Is
Yes.
that too much questions? We can take it one by one.
Oh, I definitely will. So, starting with cultural differences in diet and lifestyle, understanding that food can serve a purpose besides nutrition. So, as part of your culture, maybe a certain food is considered a joyful aspect or as part of a tradition and values. As a dietitian, I help my clients create a plan that includes their cultural foods and traditions because clients who feel valued and understood will more likely work towards their health goals. Now, as far as the social media and online, so something that you could do is if kind of looking at the videos or the information, right? So you might go and see a video again of let's say somebody who's lost weight. So you see their progress, they're super positive about having made that change. So you might think, if that works for them, why wouldn't it work for me? Now, especially when you see that they might have a lot of likes and comments. Now, influencers do have that ability to reach a wider audience, and that might make someone feel like, okay, they have a lot of backing underneath. There's a lot of people under their belt, right? Now, what you're not really seeing is what the influencer might be doing behind the scenes. So the influencer will film what they want you to see, right? They will want you to see the positives of that progress, but you it's important to understand that there are challenges in making certain changes and having drastic, let's say drastic weight loss, for example. Now, another thing, as I had mentioned earlier, is depending on the type of influencer that they are, we're not always so sure that they have the same expertise or background as a registered dietitian. Now, Donna, I'm going to circle back to you because I just want to touch on your last question as well. There was one more you had said.
Is about cultural differences in diet and lifestyle influences your approach? Is that the one?
Yes. Yes. So I had brought it up earlier as far as incorporating cultural foods, and in my nutrition plans, I typically try to include those foods as well.
Okay. So um, that's good because uh, the different cultures, they have some major things that is cooked a certain way that the food itself is great, but it's how it's prepared. So that changes the nutrition or adds some of the bad effects. What do you say to your client when that happens? Do you ask them, how do you prepare it? And say, how do you say to them, if you change it this way or leave off this or add this, how is it accepted? Because, we're sort of sensitive about our cultural foods and what we eat. How do you approach that?
Yeah, so as far as that goes, typically let's give white rice as an example because it's such a common base in a lot of
Yes,
cultural foods. And
yes,
we're often told that it has a high glycemic index or that too much carbs can cause high blood pressure, diabetes, etc. Now, while white rice alone may not be helpful in our health efforts, it is worth thinking, what are you adding to that white rice base? And oftentimes, a lot of cultures incorporate foods like beans. They're incorporating vegetables, which are very healthful. They're high in
yes,
fiber, they have antioxidants. Beans
yes,
are a source of protein.
yeah,
So, that's like a well-rounded dish in actuality because you're combining all these other nutritious foods on top of your rice, which, and by the way, little side note here is that um, rice does serve a purpose because that's your carbs or your source of energy.
of course. But you usually hear, at least I have heard, oh, go brown rice and stuff, which, because my culture, I'm from the Jamaica, West Indies, the island of Jamaica, we
Yeah.
live on rice. That's a
Yeah.
part of our base. But I've learned to change from white rice to brown rice. And it took me a while to accept the taste. My taste bud had to change. So
Yeah.
now, and I love basmati rice, which is another cultural type of rice, but it is so good. So we're all messed up in our cultural tastes and whatever. So, what is your most common piece of nutritional advice that you would advise people to question or think critically about?
That I love that question. So I think understanding that one single food or food group cannot be directly related to causing a certain chronic disease or causing a practice. So, what's commonly misunderstood is that no single food or food group can cause or cure cancer, weight gain, weight loss, or diabetes. Now, the reason for that is because nutrition science is still relatively new. So, certain studies may be more reliable than others. And while some may show associations, we cannot say it causes it. So a great example of this is processed foods, right? That
Mhm.
processed foods cause weight gain, they cause kidney disease, they cause diabetes. But processed foods is a relatively umbrella term because everything can be processed, whether it's our candy or better foods for us, like our beans or our tofu, because that has to be preserved, right? Now, let's say if we were to break it down, like processed foods and examples like candies, chips, or soda, what if the consumers that are buying them cannot afford a more nutritious choice? What if they're relatively stressed about financial status? So we have to keep in mind that other factors like socioeconomic status and stress levels can also contribute to chronic disease as well.
Oh, yes, big time, big time. Yeah.
Mm.
And help them not to go hungry.
That's right.
Right. Even though it might not be good, but help them not to go hungry.
Exactly.
So I see where you travel a lot, meaning in your work. So how does how do the experiences abroad change your perspective on nutrition? And can you share an example of a practice you have adopted from another culture?
Yes, absolutely. So, fun fact, I wouldn't say I've been to a lot of different countries, but I've been to about 12. So, like, I've been to Spanish
It's a
countries.
lot. Some people haven't even gone to one.
Yeah, I've been to European countries, and what I've learned is that ev their diets are so diverse. And, something is a lot of the foods that they're eating, we actually have quite a few of them in the United States. And kind of going back to what you said earlier, Donna, about how diverse we are as a country, those foods are available to us.
And delicious.
Yeah, exactly. But the main thing that I've noticed and have pulled from having visited under other countries is while, a lot of people will say, why is it that when I go to other countries, I'm less bloated? Or why is it that when I go to other countries, the food is relatively different? Now, keeping in mind, a lot of in other countries, there's also different levels of healthcare. People are less stressed and they're
Yes.
not working long hours or multiple jobs the way they are here.
Yes.
So I think having visited those places, I've understood that the way that we live is so different. And by trying to find little ways in nutrition sessions to help people with things like stress and sleep management that people might have better in other countries has given me more perspective in that area.
Oh, yeah. I know. I've seen it because I travel also and I see the vast difference. But what is your surprising thing about your approach to nutrition that tends to catch your clients off guard? What is one surprising thing you think catch them off guard?
I think the biggest thing is that it's okay to enjoy foods for something other than their nutrition. So,
Yes.
like, one of common example is dessert. So, I've had clients where they're like, "Are you sure I can have cake? Are you sure I can have my cultural dessert?" And I'm like, I will say yes, but let's create some strategies and a plan in order around that dessert. So whether that looks like eating a balanced meal beforehand, or maybe pairing it alongside a food with protein to help with the fullness of it. So just adding in little strategies and pieces. But I think because as especially here in the US, we're often told of what we need to limit or restrict. And I think that creates a sense of overwhelm and stress for people sometimes. And they end up eating more than they had hoped to, because there's that feeling of devoid, right? Um, and then it gives people a sense of relief when I tell them that it is okay to enjoy those foods and allow yourself.
Okay. So, how can we navigate the overwhelming amount of nutrition information out there? And how can you help us make educated decisions about our diet?
Absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things is finding a social media outlet or a professional who aligns with your values, right? Understanding that not everybody,
Let me ask you a question. Sorry to stop you there, but you
no,
said
that's okay.
social media outlet. You had mentioned before that some of the social media outlets, they are pushing a certain item for
Mhm.
sales. So how do we go about trusting that media that they have your best interest, meaning the health of individuals' best interests at heart?
Yes. So there actually are a lot of doctors and nutrition professionals online busting these myths that are being sold by certain social media influencers and people giving nutrition advice. So, as I had mentioned earlier, always looking at, are they having their credentials or their educational background mentioned in their profile? So, that might look like somebody with the RD or RDN credential, or somebody who has done a PhD, right? And has done the nutrition research to back up their expertise. Now, another thing that I have found helpful with clients is also the certain types of websites that you go on. So, a lot of the most reliable websites tend to be government websites that end in .org, and they'll offer you, because they're often referring to scientists and research to help guide the recommendations that they put on their website.
Yeah, but sometimes these .gov or .org, they're talking above your head, over your head. They're not really explaining it in relative terms for you to understand. But I get it. But what are the thoughts on the role of mental health in nutrition and eating habits, considering your background in psychology?
Good question. So I think it's a two-way street. Because while if you're not in the best mental health, you might make eating choices that you normally wouldn't. But if you're not eating in a sustainable and nutritious way, then you eat might not feel so great about your choices. So, I've also noticed certain feelings like higher stress levels can impact whether or not clients keep certain foods in their diet and maintain their eating habits. That's why it's so important to meet clients where they are in their lives. And by setting those small goals when it comes to their diet and nutrition, it allows them to build the confidence and add on to those goals to sustain the habits in the long run.
Mm. So, how do you see the field of nutrition evolving in the next decade, and what trends should we be aware of?
Yes, I love this question. So, I think people will want more personalized nutrition in the next 10 years, and dietitians will be needed more than ever, especially with those chronic diseases we mentioned
Oh, yeah.
increasing. Now, nutrition information is becoming more important, especially as this misinformation spreads online. Us professionals will need to advocate for more evidence based practices to help the public navigate the complex landscape of nutrition. As far as trends go, some of the trends that we're already seeing are probably going to continue to become more popular. So,
Mm.
for example, plant-based eating. People are already consuming more plant-centered dishes to decrease their meat consumption for environmental and health concerns. And we're seeing more of these plant-centered dishes come alive in different types of restaurants and establishments.
Yes.
Also, another popular area is gut health. So, there's a lot of new gut-centered products on the market, like our prebiotic sodas and supplements. I think as more research comes out on the nutritional components behind gut health, I think additional products will develop.
But sodas for gut health, that is prebiotic. I mean, the preserve, at least, I don't know. I won't go down that road. But
Yeah. So, as far as kind of to elaborate on that, is that they contain nutritional components that we found to be helpful in gut health. So, it just so happens that prebiotic sodas contain something called fiber, so which has been helpful in formulating digestive health and helping with your gut.
I know fiber is great and stuff, but most of these sodas have in sugar, high levels of sugar, or other chemicals to sweeten it or to preserve it. That gives off a bad side effect. You understand?
Mhm.
So that is why when you mentioned soda, I would have preferred making your own smoothie as your soda, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think? I know I'm speaking, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think that is absolutely a great option. Now, I would also consider that sometimes people don't have the time or the means to put together something like a smoothie. So they might resort towards the prebiotic soda as a way to get some nutrition as far as the fiber and also as a substitution for your traditional soda because some of these new products that are out are lower than sugar in comparison to the typical soda drink. So I've noticed, especially with certain clients, they still want the flavor of soda, but they want to cut back on their sugar. So I might say, okay, why don't we try the prebiotic soda first to see how you like it? And then maybe we'll substitute another option like a sparkling water, which has no sugar from there.
I usually, when a client complain to me about not having the time, I usually remind them that they have one life to live. And if you don't take the time with your health, your health will take the time from you. So instead of going down that road, back it up and do one and two. And after a while, your taste buds change and everything change. But then that's a different area. But so can you recommend any resources such as books or courses for those who want to delve deeper into energy healing?
Yes, I think a lot of books written by registered dietitians, such as Anti-Diet, Good Food, Bad Diet, are great places to start to understand a lot of what we talked about today, as far as diet myths and differentiating fact from fiction, especially since they're written by registered dietitians who have years of experience in the field. Now, as if you were to look online and you wanted more information there, some great places to start would be the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is the largest nutrition and dietitian organization in the country. So, where what we typically do on that website is we give nutrition information for the public and also offer recipe ideas and food choices that people can be adding to their diet.
Okay. Will you be providing me with a link to that?
Yes,
Um,
I absolutely can, and I can also share it right now. It is, eatright.org. Very
oh,
easy link.
that is easy to remember.
Yes.
Okay, I love that. So, can you go through some actionable steps that they can start on right now to help them in just basic health issues, or weight loss or um, diabetes lowering techniques, because those are one of the main things that seems to be affecting a wide area of population.
Yes, absolutely. So, it starts by identifying nutritional gaps in your day. So, thinking about maybe where do you think you might be falling short as far as nutritional components? So, specific one of the biggest starting points that I will share with clients is fiber, because that's something we often don't get enough of. It typically comes in your fruits, your vegetables, your grains, your nuts, your beans, and your seeds. Now, if you do feel like you're getting enough as far as those food components, the next step would be looking at the balanced plate. So, what a balanced plate looks like is typically half fruits and vegetables, with about a quarter or a third being your protein, and maybe roughly a quarter to a third or more being your carbohydrate foods like your grains, and your fruits and vegetables also count as a carb as well. Now, if you feel like you've mastered those components, looking at other areas beyond just your food. So, how are you doing in your exercise? Is that a consistent routine? Have you incorporated strength training in order to continue to maintain lean muscle mass? And then, how are your stress levels? Because if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, it could impact the latter as far as the way that you're eating and how your exercise goes. And then
Yes.
finally, I would say sleep levels. Are you having the right environment in order to have optimal sleep? Because that could impact your overall metabolism and
Mm.
how your energy is throughout the day.
Yes, sleep is so important. We fail to realize it. And if we don't get enough sleep, you notice we are get impatient. We don't have enough patience anymore. And we don't make such good decisions. But then that is life. That is the pace that we are on. So tell me, in your closing remarks, what do you think? Give me a couple of ideas that you want to leave us with. Go wide range. What would you summarize? What especially you want your or these listeners to take away from this podcast?
Sure. So, stressing while on a diet or over a single food may be doing more harm to your health than good. Now,
Mm,
another thing to keep in mind is that nutrition is still a new and growing science that we have to learn more about. While we can rely to a certain degree on the research, there are still a lot of limitations in scientific research. And what works for one person, whether it be from scientific research to a social media post, may not work for another person. And then finally, a registered dietitian can support you in creating a personalized nutrition plan that best fits your nutritional needs based on the current scientific research available, but while considering other lifestyle factors like your exercise, stress levels, hydration, sleep quality, and your personal food preferences.
mm, okay. And can you tell us where we can contact you?
Yes. So you can follow me on my social media handles on Instagram and TikTok at the dietitian dish with a T, or you can reach out to me through my website, which is thedietitiandish.com.
Oh, I love that. And I'm sure they will be contacting you. So as we wrap up today's, let me give you my closing remark. I want to thank you for being here with us and for sharing such enlightening conversations and about this topic. And I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Patricia for sharing her invaluable insights and expertise with us. Her passion for demystifying nutrition and promoting a balanced, inclusive approach to health has left us with much to ponder. I have questions, and I'm a health coach. From exploring the impact of cultural difference to our dietary habits to understanding the essence of genuine nourishment without restriction. Patricia has offered us a very fresh perspective that challenges conventional thinking, I think. So I hope our discussion today has inspired you to reevaluate your own relationship with food and nutrition. And remember, healthy living is not about imposing strict rules on yourself, but rather embracing a lifestyle that is enjoyable, manageable, and sustainable. Above all things, it must be sustainable. So thank you for tuning in into High Blood Pressure Wellness Lifestyle Podcast with Donna Williams and being part of this incredible journey towards a better health and well-being with Patricia Kolaska on the topic Cutting Through the Noise, a Dietitian Guide to Genuine Nutrition Wisdom. If you found today's episode helpful, please share it with us, with your friends and family. And of course, don't forget to rate and subscribe us. And thank you again, Patricia, for being here with us today. And I want everyone to stay healthy, stay informed, and until next time, take care.